Hi guys, so this is the continuation of the topic what we were discussing. What was the topic? Cloning vectors. Okay, so in cloning vectors we saw the features of cloning vectors. What are the three features of cloning vectors we saw? One is that they should have ORI site, origin of replication. Only with that site replication will take place, and from 1 DNA to from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, like that you can find copies are formed. So important thing is that they should have an ORI site. Number 2 is what? Selectable marker. So what is a selectable marker? Selectable marker is one which is helping us to find out whether the foreign DNA is correctly introduced or not, isn't it? So if the marker is present, I can differentiate the one who has recombinant, that is containing the foreign DNA, and the one who has not recombinant, do not containing the rDNA. Okay, so in order to differentiate between them, I need what? A marker. So that one we call it as what? The selectable marker. Recombinant or the transformants, they have the marker they will be representing, but the other one will not be representing, right? So for differentiating recombinant from non-recombinant, what we need? We need a selectable marker. Then we discussed about cloning vector or cloning sites or recognition sites, isn't it? So cloning sites or recognition site, what was that? Cloning site or recognition site is the place where I am going to introduce what? My desired gene of interest, my foreign DNA. Like for example, pest resistant gene I am going to introduce where? Into the cloning site. Okay, so these are the different features a vector should possess. In that, thereafter we discussed about two more topics. One is Agrobacterium tumefacium as a vector in plant, retrovirus as a vector in animal, right? Animal cell. Now we are moving on to this continuation of the topic only, cloning vectors. In that, insertional inactivation, a process called as what? Insertional inactivation. Marker, I told you usually how the marker is, like antibiotic resistant or any antibiotic like tetracycline or ampicillin resistant characters, we use it as a marker, isn't it? That's what we discussed. There is a substitute for the same. Rather than using this antibiotic resistant as a marker, because it is very difficult to culture them in the antibiotic, many will respond, many will die, like that it is very difficult to differentiate. It becomes much time consuming, tedious process. In order to overcome that, the scientists discovered a new approach called as what? Insertional inactivation. It is acting as a substitute for selectable marker. Like a selectable marker, they are acting. Okay, this process, how? Listen. What is the function of the marker? I told you they are helping in differentiating recombinant, the one which is having the foreign DNA, and the non-recombinant, one which is not having the foreign DNA, with the help of a chromogenic substrate. What do you mean by chromogenic substrate? Chromogenic, chromoplast, you have learned, color producing, isn't it? So this chromogenic substrate is what? A color producing gene which is present in the bacteria. Okay, so the vector is having a color producing gene which is coding for particular color. Example for that is beta galactosidase is an enzyme which is produced by certain sequence of gene. Okay, so we can see how it is done. So for example, you see this is the plasmid. Okay, in this plasmid there is a particular gene. That gene is coding for an enzyme called as what? Beta galactosidase. So this galactosidase enzyme is produced with the help of this gene. Okay, so they are coding for the production of this beta galactosidase, and if this enzyme is produced, that bacteria will have blue color. What is the color? Blue color, right? So a recombinant DNA, what I am going to do is that I am going to introduce into this region. Very carefully you listen. So I have taken out a plasmid. Okay, so into that plasmid, this is the gene which is coding for what? Beta galactosidase. If this gene is coding for beta galactosidase enzyme, then the bacteria will be remaining what in color? Blue in color. Now what I am going to do? I am going to introduce my foreign DNA. Okay, so that region along with the cloning site, I am going to use this region also for inserting my gene of interest. Okay, so here in this place what I am going to do, I am going to introduce the gene, right? So now when I am going to introduce, what I will take out, I will take out this beta galactose gene, and my gene of interest I am going to introduce it. So my gene of interest I have introduced over here. Now whether this vector will be producing beta galactosidase? No. So whether it will be blue in color? No, isn't it? So this, after introducing this foreign DNA, I am going to take this plasmid and put it into the which one? The bacteria, and allowing the bacteria to multiply. So many bacteria will be formed, all these bacteria, then what I will do, I will see. Okay, so some bacteria when you are seeing, they are turning blue in color, which means the beta galactosidase side is not properly inserted with foreign DNA. So that is not a recombinant. Which is turning blue is not a recombinant. The one which is turning blue is not a recombinant. The one which is not turning blue is a recombinant. Why? Because in that particular portions, in that particular site only what I have done, I have introduced my foreign DNA. Now beta galactosidase enzyme is not produced, so the blue color is not produced. So if blue color is not produced, which means my foreign DNA is present there, that's why it is not coding for what? The blue color. So like this, insertional inactivation process. Why it is insertional inactivation? Because I am, listen very carefully, what I am going to do, I am going to introduce or insert my foreign DNA. Okay, so what I am going to do, I am going to insert, this is the region which was coding for what? Beta galactosidase. In that I have introduced my foreign DNA, taking away what? Taking away that beta galactosidase gene. Now if the beta galactosidase gene is taken, okay, and this one is introduced, so what happens to beta galactosidase? This become inactive, it is not functioning now because the gene has been disturbed. In that position only what I have inserted, I have introduced my gene of interest. That's why the name is called as what? Insertional inactivation. By inserting my gene of interest into that region which is coding for beta galactosidase, that beta galactosidase enzyme producing gene is becoming inactive. They are not producing anymore. So the one which produces blue colonies are all what? They are not recombinants, non-transform, and they do not contain the rDNA. The one which do not produce color is what? They are recombinant. Okay, so they do not produce color, which means that what? Sorry, do not, spelling is wrong. So one which is not producing means they are not producing any color, that one we call it as what? We call them as recombinant. Okay, so this is do not, you just make a change, it is do not produce color, right? So do not produce colors are all recombinants, and those who produce blue color are non-recombinant. Recombinant means what? They are containing the rDNA. Non-recombinant means what? They do not contain rDNA. Okay. The next topic what we are going to discuss is competent host. Listen very carefully. So insertional inactivation, I think it is clear. Where beta galactosidase is produced, there I am taking the gene, and that is used as a marker. So that beta galactosidase gene is taken out and my gene of interest is put, and it is acting like a marker, because if no color is produced, then it is marking that it is a recombinant. If blue color is produced, then it is saying that it is a non-recombinant. Okay. Now moving on to the next topic, competent host. Okay. So in the next topic what we are going to discuss, competent host. Now what is competent host? I told you in that picture we have already discussed, isn't it? So in the beginning itself we have discussed in this picture. This DNA, rDNA is formed now. This rDNA, after forming, it has to be introduced into the bacteria, or it has to be introduced into any plant cell. Imagine directly to the host you are putting, or you are putting it into a vector. Okay, either you are putting into the vector or you are putting directly onto the host. Whatever the reason is, this vector into which you are introducing, it is acting as a host. If it is a seed in that cells you are going to introducing, it is acting as a host. Where I am going to put the rDNA, we call it as what? The host. Okay. Now this competent host, the host can take up this foreign DNA only by some methods. Okay, just like that, you cannot introduce the rDNA into the cell. Okay, so for introducing this rDNA into the cells, okay, introducing what, the rDNA into the cells, I need some processes. Okay, so first process is chemically I can introduce. Okay, so how chemically I can introduce? Listen, I am treating the cells which I am going to introduce this rDNA, the vector, okay, PBR332 vector I am going to introduce into the bacteria. So a bacteria is a vector. There the bacteria are treated with what? Divalent calcium ions. They are introducing in a medium containing what? The divalent calcium ions. So what happens when this bacteria are introduced into these ions is that the cell wall become much porous. Porous means what? The pores will increase in size. They will take up this calcium and the pore size will increase. So when the pore size increases, immediately in that medium I will introduce this rDNA which I have made. So you slowly through the pores this rDNA can get entry. Okay, so by divalent calcium ion I am introducing into a medium this divalent calcium ion. There I am introducing the vector or the host. Now what happens? The cell wall, when you are seeing, they are becoming much porous. They are becoming, the pore size is increasing. The vector. Now what happens? This rDNA plasmid can easily get entry into the cell. That is one method by which the rDNA is introduced into the cell. Okay. Another chemical method is that heat shock treatment. What do you mean by heat shock treatment? Like for example, you see, so when you are getting attacked by some fever and all, doctors tell you to take rest, isn't it? Why? You are taking, you are getting fever, your body temperature is increasing. Gradually, after taking medicines, it will decrease. Again, it will increase. So, when the temperature fluctuation is there, when it is hot, cold, viruses, bacteria, they are trying to adapt to the hot. By the time it is becoming cold, again they cannot. So, they feel it difficult. At that stage, if any, means my body's immune system, so the body's immune system will become weak. The cells in my body will not respond properly. So that's why they are telling to take rest. Don't expose yourself to the types of germs because they can take entry very easily because my cells is not in proper condition. Same way, here also what happens is that the host cell, the vector cell, bacterial cell or the plant cell in which I am going to introduce this rDNA. Okay, so rDNA I have to introduce either in the vector or the rDNA has to be introduced with the help of the vector. The vector has to be introduced where? Into the host. Okay, so in order to introduce them into the host or in order to introduce them into a vector. Okay, so what I have to do is that I have to go for the second method, heat shock treatment. There what I am doing is that I am keeping it in ice. Okay, the cells, host cell seeds, in case I am introducing into the seeds. So in that case, in the ice I will be keeping them. They will become much colder. Okay, adapt means they are going to survive in the cold. Immediately I will take them out and put it in what? Around 42 degrees Celsius heat I will expose them. Again the cells, yeah, they are feeling it difficult to adapt. So what happens is that the walls, they become very much feasible, flexible in nature, the cell walls and all. Okay, so again I am putting them in the ice. So this changes when you are seeing it, when the cells are undergoing this sort of changes, adapting to cold, then again heat, then again cold, the cells become very much feasible, very much feeble in nature. So in that case what happens is that when I am introducing the recombinant DNA, nearby I am keeping it, the pore size and all will increase, they will start to take up what? The rDNA. So when you are doing heat shock treatment also, what happens is that the rDNA is entering into the cells because the cells take time to adapt itself, the cell feel it difficult to adapt itself. So in that case if you keep something near it, they will try to absorb it towards itself. So like that, if you are keeping the vector or if you are keeping the rDNA just near it, what will happen? It can take its entry. Understood? So this is the way by which what we can do. We can introduce the recombinant DNA into the host cell or the vector into the host cell. Okay. So these two are chemical methods. Now physical methods we are going to discuss. What is a physical method? By some physical means. Like for example, micro injection. rDNA is taken. Yes, this rDNA, what I am going to do is that directly I am going to inject it. Okay, injection. So this micro injection, it's very much a small rDNA, isn't it? So the injection, when you are saying it is very, very small carrying particle, is just introduced into the nucleus of the cells. Okay, host cell's nucleus, just like injection, I am introducing what, the rDNA. So that is another one. For injecting the same, I use what, glass micro pipette. With that, I am just taking the rDNA, injecting into the cell's nucleus. Okay. Next physical method is your bioelastic or gene gun method. Two physical method. Okay. So bioelastic or gene gun method means what? Bioelastic or gene gun method means here I am going to use a gun. Yeah, for shooting we use a gun. Here also, like I am going to use rDNA as a bullet. Okay. So I have taken one bullet, that is rDNA. I have coated this rDNA with the help of some particles called as tungsten or gold. With that, what we are doing, we are just coating this particle. Okay, gold or tungsten, with that rDNA is slightly coated, and this coated rDNA is kept in the gun. Okay, after this, what we are doing, we are going to shoot this bullet inside the cell. So with the help of the shooting correctly to the nucleus, scientists, they have methods. Okay, so they are going to shoot it and introduce the rDNA into the cell. So that one we call it as what, bioelastic or gene gun method. So in microinjection we are injecting. In bioelastic or gene gun method we are shooting and introducing the rDNA. The last process, fifth one, is a biological process. So we discussed two chemical process. One is, if you are keeping it with the medium of divalent calcium ions, pore size will increase and the rDNA can enter. If you are incubating it with heat shock treatment, cooling, heating like that, the cells become very tender, become very flexible. If you are introducing it this time rDNA near it, they will absorb itself. Okay, both were chemical. Microinjection with the help of injecting process, bioelastic or gene gun method with the help of gun. Okay, the last one is your biological process. This we have already discussed. Disarmed pathogens. What do we call them? Disarmed pathogens. So Agrobacterium tumefacium we have discussed, isn't it? So here this virus, when you are saying the vector, rDNA is present in which one? The bacteria, Agrobacterium tumefacium. And this Agrobacterium tumefacium is acting like a vector because it is containing what? The rDNA. Now this rDNA from the Agrobacterium tumefacium, it is going and infecting what? The dicot plants. So when they are infecting the dicot plants, actually what they are doing, they are introducing the recombinant DNA into the plant cells. Like that, the bacteria itself is used for transmitting this rDNA into the host cell like plants, and in case of retroviruses, that has been introduced into what? The animals. So these are the biological methods by which what is introduced? rDNA is introduced. Okay, so different methods by which rDNA takes entry into the host we have learnt, isn't it? So into the vector or the vector into the host, for that we are using all these methods. Okay, so what are the methods? The first one is divalent calcium ion, second one is heat shock treatment, third microinjection, fourth bioelastic, and the fifth one is your disarmed pathogen. Hope it's clear. So what was the role for this competent host? The host should be competent enough to take up the rDNA. We can make it competent by all these processes. Okay, so that they take up the rDNA. That's all for today. Thank you.